Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2019 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the almighty Sabaton entitled The Great War, which came out today through Nuclear Blast Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Sabaton, they're a power metal band based out of Falun in Sweden. These guys have been around since 1999. And I discovered Sabaton about probably 5 years or so ago with the release of their album Heroes. And ever since then, I heard that and I was like impressed. I went and checked out all their stuff, and instantly I became a fan of the band. And Sabaton's been one of my all-time favorites since. Um, and of course, this is the band's ninth album and the follow-up to their last album, which came out in, I believe, 2016, called The Great War is what it was called. Yeah, which I think is great. But does this album live up to this expectation? In my honest opinion, I feel like it definitely has. I mean, Sabaton can do no wrong. They're one of those bands that, for me, just never fails to release a bad album, in my opinion. Um, and all their songs lyrically talk about like war and history and stuff. It bleh, makes me feel like I would have done better in like history class or social studies in high school if I would have listened to their music. I mean, all their music is like a freaking history lesson. The production on this album is just really great. One thing to note is the vocal work from Joachim Brodin. Like his vocals is very commanding and powerful. Definitely knows how to get it done in the studio as well as live. I mean, I've also seen Sabaton twice, and they put on a great show. And it definitely feels like what they do in the studio is what they can do live. Is just great. Guitar wise, Chris Rowland and Tommy, forget his last name. Their guitar work on this album is just great, just full of just powerful leads and just really just gets you going and all that stuff. The bass playing is pretty audible. I mean, Parr's bass is just great, and the drumming wise, the drums on this album is just superb. I don't know how Hans does it. It's just really great. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting it off is the song "The Future of Warfare," and this album literally and sonically kicks it off really great. The pounding drums and the guitar riffs make it sound similar to the opening shots of a battle, and it's easy to see why the band went up with this as an opener, as it quickly pumps up the adrenaline to the listener, and the dual guitar attack gets one tapping their foot to the rest of the album ahead. Alright, next on the album is called Seven Pillars of Wisdom, and this is where it picks up the pace even more. And this track, even what heard in isolation from the rest of the album, will instantly announce itself as a Sabaton track. And Joachim's narrative vocals with the catchy chorus, galloping solos, and this one has pretty much all of their Sabaton's traits right in there. 82nd All the Way, which brings in a slight change in the sound, mixing like old school traditional heavy metal influences into their music. It's very true to the style of Sabaton. This track has a very catchy chorus that absorbs you into the story of Sergeant York that the track narrates. The attack of the dead man, and the kicking off with just some pounding drum beats, and it feels like it's trying to warn us of the attack ahead, and employing a catchy, fast, hard, slow, melodic alternative pacing, and it's easy to find oneself grooving along to the music. Devil's Dog, which manages to incorporate elements of even like thrash metal, which is kind of interesting for a power metal band, but it just has some very fast paced and chaotic in nature, akin to like being caught in the battlefield. And this chorus in the second half of the track is perfect for when you're feeling low, and it'll give you like the urge to get up and give life another shot. Great. Next on the album is called The Red Baron, which is a groovy monster, which is with the interweaved vocals and guitars are a delight to listen to, and the smooth transitions from the solo on the keys gives way to like a dual guitar attack, which has like would get the most unattentive listener bobbing their head along, and it's probably the most non-sounding Sabaton track the band has ever done, but it's still a kick-ass song nonetheless. And then we go into the title track of the album, The Great War, which is instantly, like when I first heard it, it's reminiscent of like classics such as like Colaris Rex or even Primo Victoria. It's symphonic in nature, and it feels like a track that would have been played in the background as troops march into war. And as a side note, the cheeky lyrics like "Great Tour, there will be no encore" play the great score, which honestly makes this track, as Sabaton chooses the last song on their set list on the tour ahead, which I think is great. Next on the album is called A Ghost in the Trenches, And by now one has a fair idea what this album has holds. And this track sticks to the tropes of like traditional power metal, picking pace as it proceeds, and the instrumental section stands out, and it feels like it's plucked out of a war movie soundtrack. Fields of Verdun, which showcases the storytelling capabilities that the band possesses, with hints of like elements of like new wave of British heavy metal, like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and the catchy chorus is bound to get many to sing along to. And then we go, next song on here is The End of the War to End All Wars. And honestly, this track kind of, it feels like a ballad composed in memory of the lives and loss at the end of destruction caused. And the orchestra and the orchestration parts is reminiscent of both the impact the past has had and the learning from the war with hopes of a better future. And then the album closes with In Flanders Fields, which is, I feel like this was written during like the First World War by Canadian physicist Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, which is, this actually has some guest appearance from Floor Jansen of Nightwish, who's actually dating Hans, their drummer. And this song, it reminds me of one negatively associated with war, and the composition and this song has like a very melancholic beauty, which is providing the perfect way to end this album. Now, overall, The Great War by Sabaton is another great album. They're just Harvey. Like I said before in the beginning of the video, these guys can do no wrong. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give this probably a solid 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. And it's up there. So yeah, that's my review of the new Sabaton album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. And I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.